Today, we're talking about the critical link between creativity and innovation. You know, if you're a leader who's already achieved a certain level of success, the biggest challenge isn't what you've done, it's what you do next. And this isn't just theory. We're talking about a real, quantifiable strategy to engineer your next big phase of growth.
So let me just start with a direct question. You measure profit, right? You measure market share, but have you ever put a number on your organization's relevance, say 3 years from now? Because here's the thing, if you haven't, you can bet your competitors are.
Let's dive into this really interesting paradox that every successful organization runs into. The very playbook that got you to the top, the routines, the processes that delivered those great results, well, eventually, they can become an anchor, a drag on your momentum that you might not even see coming.
Which brings us right to our first section. We're going to break down exactly why your past success creates the perfect breeding ground for future failure. It's a fascinating phenomenon called organizational drift.
You know, stagnation isn't some big dramatic event. It's more like a silent killer. It's that slow drift into the same old meetings, reusing the same old playbooks. And the very energy that once sparked all that innovation, it just quietly gives way to routine. And that routine, it puts a hard ceiling on your ability to adapt and to compete.
But listen, this isn't just some philosophical problem. Stagnation has a real price tag. And in this next section, we are going to quantify the absolutely staggering cost of doing nothing.
Just look at this number, 95%. That is the industry-wide failure rate for brand new products. It's a shocking figure, isn't it? It tells us loud and clear that the traditional way of innovating is statistically guaranteed to burn through capital and completely miss the mark.
And the financial drain inside your company is just as bad. When leadership stops actively developing talent, who do you think heads for the door first? Your best people. And the cost to replace one of those high performers can be up to double their annual salary. That's not just a line item on a spreadsheet, that is a massive transfer of wealth right out of your company, all driven by gaps in management.
And on top of all that, there's something we call the reputation tax. For a large company, having a poor reputation for developing leaders can cost as much as $7.6 million in extra wages just to attract new talent. You are literally paying a premium for a problem that you could be solving from the inside.
Okay, so we've clearly defined this multi-million-dollar problem. Now, let's pivot to the solution. This section is all about a fundamental shift in how you think, moving from chaotic, hopeful creativity to predictable, manageable innovation.
This really shows the key difference. On the left, you've got the traditional model. It can be generic, a bit chaotic, and honestly almost impossible to measure. But on the right, you see a modern framework. It's structured, it's been validated by research, and it's quantifiable. It's the difference between hoping for innovation and actually engineering it.
The big shift here is moving beyond those feel-good workshops that you can't really measure. It's about adopting a rigorous methodology, one that's backed by serious research and validated by leading institutions. That's what gives you a concrete, manageable capability for innovation.
Okay, so how does it all work in practice? Let's get right into the mechanics. This section breaks down the core methodology into a super clear, actionable process. These are the 3 pillars of execution that you're going to master.
First, foresight. You learn how to spot and neutralize hazards before they become huge problems. Second, vision. You'll master a rapid-fire approach to get all your stakeholders, tech and non-tech alike, aligned and moving in the same direction. And third, prototyping. You'll use design thinking to turn abstract ideas into practical solutions and systematically reverse that 95% failure rate we talked about.
And mastering that process leads to this, the quantified transformation. Here, we're going to look at the tangible outcomes and the real, measurable return on investment for you and for your organization. At the end of the day, innovation is a human process, and focusing on emotional intelligence isn't a soft skill, it's a massive performance multiplier. For example, teams that are led by high EQ managers see a 32% jump in engagement and a 37% jump in productivity. These are real, hard numbers. This table just lays it all out plain and simple. The pain of stagnation versus the potential outcomes. That 95% product failure rate, you can transform that into an ability to rapidly prototype and de-risk ideas. That high employee turnover, you can shift that to higher engagement and productivity.
The risk of becoming professionally obsolete is replaced with strategic foresight. I mean, the choice is pretty stark. And what about for you, personally? The data confirms that investing in this level of continuing education can lead to a 140% relative increase in salary compared to those who just stand still. This isn't just an investment in your company, it is a direct investment in your own career path.
So where does the authority for all this come from? Well, it's anchored in proof. The methodology itself is derived from MIT research, the instructors often hold PhDs in cognitive psychology, and the whole curriculum is backed by real behavioral science and neuroscience. This is exactly the kind of science-backed expertise that's trusted by major leading brands.
And all of this brings us to our final section, and to a decision. This isn't just about professional development, it's about a critical and, frankly, time-sensitive choice about the future of your leadership.
The value of this network, the value of this certification, is directly tied to how exclusive it is. That's why enrollment is strictly limited. And this isn't some artificial marketing tactic. It's a structural necessity. It's how we maintain the quality of the peer network and the high-touch engagement with our faculty.
Which means there's a very clear and a very defined deadline. Access to this program is only available for a limited time. And once this window closes, that opportunity is sealed until the next cycle.
This timeline makes the urgency perfectly clear. We are here, and that deadline is approaching fast. This is not a decision that can be put on the back burner. The clock is ticking.
So we'll end with this question. The future of your organization and of your career is quantified innovation. The tools and the framework exist. The only remaining question is, will you be the leader who decides to measure up?
The time to transition from managing the success you've already had to actively engineering your future success is right now. Secure your place in the next cohort. Contact Humanology today.